I'm a 28-year-old woman, and my cousin is 29. Her name's Camille, and if I had to sum her up in one sentence, it would be this: Camille always wanted my life, and one day she simply took it. I grew up in a pretty close-knit family, not the kind where we all live on top of each other, but the kind where holidays, birthdays, and even random Sundays were spent together. My parents co-owned a small chain of artisan bakeries with my aunt and uncle. It started with one storefront, and over the years, it turned into 5. I grew up around cinnamon rolls, staff schedules, and spreadsheets. From the time I was 13, I was shadowing my parents and learning the ropes. Everyone assumed that after college, I'd come back and eventually take over operations. Camille was always around. She lived 10 minutes away, and since our moms were sisters, there wasn't a gathering where she wasn't included. She was the kind of kid who always had to outshine you but did it in a way where you couldn't call her out. She'd compliment my science fair project while slipping in that hers won first place at the regional level. She'd laugh at jokes I made, then retell them louder for the room like she came up with them. Harmless stuff when you're young. Not so harmless when you grow up. While I was pouring myself into business courses, internships, and bakery operations every summer, Camille was focused on a different path. She studied marketing, bounced between jobs, and said things like, "I'm not built for 9-to-5 life." Nobody minded that. She had the freedom to figure things out. The plan for the bakery was always clear. I'd finish college and I'd return as the operations lead, eventually stepping into full leadership as my parents phased out. Then, during my final semester, everything changed. I landed in the hospital with a sudden gallbladder infection that turned into emergency surgery. It came out of nowhere. One minute I was preparing for finals. The next I was on bed rest for 6 weeks and could barely sit upright without pain. While I was recovering, Camille stepped in, temporarily, they said, just to help keep things running. By the time I got back, my desk was gone. The office had been rearranged. Projects I had started were now being reported under Camille's name. Staff I trained were taking direction from her. When I asked my parents what was going on, they told me Camille had been a real lifesaver and that I needed to ease back in, not stir up drama. They said Camille had shown a surprising natural sense for business and that I should focus on healing. I tried to stay calm, thinking it would sort itself out. It didn't. Camille went from temporary help to full-time partner. She began making decisions, speaking in meetings, and worst of all, telling people that I'd been struggling with my emotional capacity for leadership. I overheard her one day telling a supplier that I was sweet, but too fragile to handle the pressure. She called my absence a wake-up call for the business, as if my body failing me proved I wasn't reliable, and no one corrected her. When I finally confronted my parents, they told me not to make things worse. They said family unity mattered more than positions, that Camille was doing well, and that I should focus on moving forward. I asked them what that meant for me, and they said I could take on a supporting role until things settled. Translation: the business I spent my life preparing for was no longer mine. It would have been enough if that were the only betrayal, but Camille wasn't finished. My boyfriend of 2 years, Simon, someone I introduced to the family, someone who used to sit with me at bakery meetings just to understand my world, slowly got closer to Camille during my recovery. I noticed they'd joke more, stand a little too close, tag each other in inside joke posts. I chalked it up to my imagination. Until one night, Simon told me we should take a break. A week later, I found out from a mutual friend that he and Camille had gone out for drinks and never stopped seeing each other. When I confronted them, Camille smirked and said Simon had been confused, that maybe I had misread the seriousness of our relationship. No apologies, no guilt. Just a smug look and a shoulder shrug. And the worst part? No one in the family held them accountable. My parents told me to move on. My aunt said love is unpredictable. They